We usually explore Colorado on foot, but today we decided to book ourselves an epic Colorado Jeep tour and visit the famous Royal Gorge Bridge in Canon City. Hi, we're Ryan and Carrie. We're a married couple living along the Front Range in Colorado. He's the native and I'm the newcomer. Join us as we share accessible adventures to help you explore the hashtag Colorado life like a local.
The tour started out with us getting there at 8 a.m. and being ready to hit the trail by 8:30. We got acquainted with the Jeep and all the safety things, and then had a little overview of what the day was going to look like. We met with our driver and guide, Tom, who was both very funny and incredibly informative. We set out by going through Canon City first and learning a bit about the history of the town, major events, and notable people from the area. We stopped off at the town's past graveyard and learned that there were people buried in the graveyard that had fought in every major American war from the Revolutionary War to the Vietnam War. And there were even gravestones from both Union and Confederate soldiers from the American Civil War at the same site. From the graveyard, we moved out into the sticks and further away from civilization, through some winding trails up until we were truly in the backcountry. Tom, our guide, happened to be an old park ranger here in Colorado, so he had a wealth of knowledge, not only about the local flora and fauna, but the natural history of the state itself, and took the time to pull off the trail to allow us to examine some old marine fossils embedded in the rocks. We hit the road again and found ourselves in true isolation. It was so serene and quiet out in the wilderness without any people or traffic driving by, and never at any point did we feel unsafe sitting in the Jeep in the hands of Tom, even when we were going down some slippery turns or some very steep inclines. Most of the trails out in the backcountry were actually pretty smooth. The Jeep didn't need to do any rock crawling, or we weren't being flung back and forth at any point, despite my dad and I asking Tom to take the Jeep off some sweet jumps. About an hour into our tour, we hit a nice area around Grape Creek and decided it was a perfect time to get out and stretch our legs. And if anyone needed to take a nature pee, there were plenty of places to slip away to. Around this point, we noticed that we hadn't seen any other people or seen any vehicles on our outing. No phone signal, no contact, nothing. Completely out in nature and feeling like we were a world away. And to know that we were only about 8 miles away from our departure point was mind-boggling. We continued onward and upward through an ever-changing landscape towards the back entrance into Royal Gorge Mountain Park, which, by the way, Colorado Jeep Tours is the only tour company that has access to the park via this route. Oh, and by the way, if you're sticking your hands or arms out the window, watch out for giant, flying chunks of mud coming off the tires. I got nailed right after catching this shot. And on our way, we saw quite a lot of wildlife. Tons of mule deer with their big old ears watching us go by, tons of unique birds that call those mountains their home, but per usual, when trying to grab a quick pic from the back of a bouncy Jeep, it comes out about as clear as that Bigfoot footage. You know which one I'm talking about. Remember how I said Colorado Jeep Tours was the only tour company in the area with access to the Royal Gorge Park? Well, these Jeeps are also the only vehicles, besides maintenance vehicles, that are allowed to cross the bridge, which is a thrilling experience to say the least. I was on the passenger side of the Jeep, and because of the Jeep's height from the back, it felt like I was hanging over the safety railing of the bridge. Being that high up is not for the faint of heart if you are afraid of heights. And our guide Tom drove across the thing, making jokes, acting like everything was completely fine and dandy. And I mean, of course, it totally was. We were completely fine. The bridge can more than handle the weight of all of the activity happening out there. And Tom told us how back in the day when anybody could drive across the bridge, it was common to see bumper-to-bumper traffic jams. I have been to the Royal Gorge Bridge many times in my life, but the change they have made lately have been huge improvements. Since the wildfire that ravaged the area in June 2013 and destroyed almost all of the structures, the tourist attraction had to be almost completely rebuilt. The visitor center is brand new and state-of-the-art and offers some really awesome views of the bridge and surrounding landscapes. This was also a nice place to get out and take a quick break and have access to real bathrooms for those non-nature peeing ones in the group. Besides the bridge itself, to get across to the other side, you can take the gondola, or for the truly adventurous, the zip line. Me? Nope. I will keep my feet firmly on the ground, thank you. Once we loaded back up into the Jeep and exited the visitor center area, we were on our back half of the journey and started to head back towards Canon City. We quickly departed from the asphalt-paved roads to the dusty trails again. We stayed in the Royal Gorge Park area for quite some time, taking scenic routes to get to some beautiful, less-known vantage points, like views of the Santa de Cristo Mountain, which means blood of Christ in Spanish, and is named so because at sunrise and sunset, the mountains sometimes have a reddish hue. We dawdled a bit, taking pictures and enjoying the views, but soon we are back on the bumpy trails heading back towards town and to our final and my favorite part of the trip, Skyline Drive. This historic road sits just west of Canon City and was built by inmates from the local prison in 1905. And this narrow one-way road follows the top of Razorback Ridge, which rises about 800 feet in elevation from the surrounding terrain. There are no guardrails, no fences, or any type of safety railings. It's just you, the Jeep, and a quick drop-off on either side. On top of the ridge was something I didn't expect to see. A Dinosaur Trackway, which was fossilized dinosaur footprints in the rocks. Don't ask me how the heck these footprints got sideways and protrude as they do rather than indents like you would expect a footprint to be. But either way, seeing dinosaur footprints on top of a hill with a cliff on either side was the last thing I expected and a true delight. Skyline Drive continues for about 3 miles with views that overlook the city and valleys on either side. All in all, Colorado Jeep Tours is a great experience just about any time of year, and is a wonderful adventure for individuals, couples, or whole families that are looking to get outside and explore some of southern Colorado's most pristine nature and breathtaking views.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to show your support. And to get new videos from us every week, be sure to hit that subscribe button.